Foxparks! I love Foxparks. This pal is the first pal featured in the Palpedia that has its own variant called Foxparks Christ, which will have its own dedicated video too. Today is just all about Foxparks, which is likely inspired by Japanese folktales of the kitsune fire-wielding foxes. And the name Foxparks may come from a combination of the words fox and sparks. Makes sense, right? Although Foxparks was featured as number 1 in Pocket Pair's X and YouTube channel Pal Deck, this fire-type pal incapable of controlling its own flames comes in at number 5 in the Palpedia, which tells of how Foxparks sneezes are one of the leading causes of forest fires, which is hilarious! Breaking news from the Palpedia Islands today as a large fire has broken out at Palpedia headquarters, the cause of which is reportedly a Foxparks. Foxparks are well known to be unskilled at controlling fire from birth, but this has not deterred people from adopting these fire foxes, despite the known risks. We speak now with John Arson, the manager on site at the time the fire broke out. Can you tell us a little more about how this happened, Mr. Arson?
Well, yeah, I were butchering some Anubis for pal shows like you do, and Foxparks came up rubbing against me leg, and I thought maybe he wants some love in it. So I knelt down and gave it belly rubs. Next thing I know, the Foxparks sneezes and the wooden foundation of HQ got set ablaze. By the time we put some kelp seeds on it, the fire was raging out of control. Everything is gone, man. I'm going to get the sack.
Well, that is quite the tale of woe. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Foxparks sneezes are one of the leading causes of forest fires, and this turn of events definitely serves as a cautionary tale for us all. Only you can prevent Foxparks sneezes. Foxparks is the earliest fire pal available in the game, and can be found roaming around the windswept hills, travelling alone or in pairs. It can also be found on Icewind Isle, Eastern Wild Island, Western Seabreeze Archipelago, and around the Scars of War area. Foxparks is quite an easy catch because despite being timid creatures who flee when spotted, they do square up to attackers facing them head on, suggesting a certain boldness that counters its skittish nature. Foxparks can be encountered as an alpha boss in low-level dungeons like the Hillside Caverns. Upon defeat or capture, a normal Foxparks reliably drops leather and flame organs, both of which are essential resources early game. Alpha Foxparks can also drop ancient civilization parts, precious pelt that can be sold for quite a bit of coin, and a ring of flame resistance which slightly lowers fire damage. Foxparks saunters around like quite a proud, majestic creature, aware of its own beauty, because in terms of appearance this pal is stunning. It has bright red-orange fur resembling a red fox with a bushy tail that has a dark brown tip engulfed in flames. The tips of its long ears are also dark brown with a tan-coloured centre. Foxparks' eyes are a dark orange colour, and the tufts of fur on its cheeks make this pal extra adorable. Its eyebrows and stomach are tan-coloured, and its paws are covered in fire. Its fire tail and paws are its defining physical feature, but is also its biggest downfall, since the fire makes it easy to spot Foxparks at night, making it easy prey. This pal is quite essential early game owing to its work suitability in kindling. Foxparks will most likely be the first fire pal you encounter in the game since they roam around the starting area, and a work suitability in kindling means that Foxparks can light torches at your base, cook food at the campfire and cooking pot, and even smelt ore into ingots, until you find a pal with a higher work suitability, that is. You could always fully condense Foxparks to bump up its work suitability to level 2, and then use kindling applied technique books to max out its kindling work suitability to level 5, if you decide you really adore Foxparks and want it as a permanent base worker. Most of the higher level kindling pals like Jormuntide Ignis are quite big cumbersome base pals, so having a smaller pal spearheading your ingot production and cooking could be quite refreshing. If you did want to create a reliable base worker build for Foxparks, then there are several pal passive skills you can consider. Passives that increase work speeds like Conceited, Artisan, Serious, Work Slave and Remarkable Craftsmanship are all excellent. You could also consider passives like Nocturnal and Vampiric, which removes the pal's need to sleep and ensures they work through the night. Finally, passives that reduce hunger and the rate of sanity depletion might be worthwhile, but I tend to focus more on work speeds and working through the night, because there is nothing more annoying than a pal abandoning its task to sleep when you are waiting on the goods. Furthermore, I tend to lower the rate of pal hunger depletion in the settings anyway, because pals have quite ferocious appetites sometimes. But if you do want a passive that reduces hunger or sanity depletion, then you can't go wrong with Mastery of Fasting and Heart of the Immovable King. These are the only sanity and hunger related top tier rainbow passives, perfect for a base worker build. In terms of base stats, a level 1 Foxparks generally has 545 HP, 106 in attack, 56 in defense, and a work speed of 63. It also has quite a low appetite of 2 out of 10, which means it won't burn through the food you place at your base for your pals. Now, I say this in every deep dive video, but how high these base stats can go largely depend on the individual pal's IVs, which are viewable with the ability glasses and are known as potential in Palworld. My strongest level 65 Foxparks has 8,845 HP, 1,363 in attack, 1,050 in defense, and a work speed of 173. This is with max souls offered at the Statue of Power, max condensing at the Palessence Condenser, pretty mid IVs, a trust level of 5, and artisan, ferocious, logging efficiency and runner passive skills. The only way I could make a Foxpark stronger than this one is by starting out with a pal with higher IVs in the first place, to get the maximum boost to base stats from level 1, and by swapping out passives based on what kind of build I want. When it comes to combat ability, Foxparks is quite a plucky pal that can be an excellent combat ally, particularly where type advantage comes into play. As a fire type pal, Foxparks is strong against ice and grass type pals, taking only 0.5 times damage. But of course, Foxparks is at a natural disadvantage when pitted against water types, who can deal 1.5 times damage against it. Water is its only weakness, so Foxparks can hold its own against all other types, and its partner skill Huggy Fire is a big bonus. Huggy Fire can be used after unlocking and crafting Foxparks Harness, which is a tier 6 technology and requires only basic resources to craft. Crafting Foxparks Harness is featured as part of the early game main mission, so it can't be missed if you want to progress. When Huggy Fire is activated, Foxparks equips to the player and transforms into a flamethrower, which is pretty cool, but it doesn't have a great range. You have to get quite up close and personal. Plus, unlike Lifmonk's recoil, Huggy Fire replaces the player's weapon rather than becoming an additional weapon. The condensing process through the Palessence Condenser grants a damage multiplier for Huggy Fire, with a maximum of 2 times damage gained when fully maxed out. Shame this process doesn't increase its area of effect also. Anyways, a level 1 Foxparks comes with the active skill Ignis Blast, which has a power of 30 and sees Foxparks hurl a ball of fire at the enemy. It has a 2-second cooldown and can be an effective means of spamming the enemy with fireballs. Strangely, Foxparks' next active skill gained at level 7 is a ground type move called Sand Blast that hurls mud at the enemy. I say strangely because Foxparks is a fire type pal, and it seems odd that its second attack is a ground type instead of fire. But Sandblast has a 4-second cooldown and a power of 40. Its next active skill is gained at level 15 in the form of Spirit Fire, which is surprisingly a fire type move rather than a dark type move, as the name implies, like comparable dark moves Spirit Dash and Spirit Flame. But Spirit Fire is very much a fire type move, and sees Foxparks shoot fireballs towards an enemy which explode and generate smaller fireballs that spread forward. This move has a power of 45 and a 7-second cooldown. Up next is the fire type move Flare Arrow, which has a cooldown of 10 seconds and a power of 55. This move allows Foxparks to fire 3 flaming arrows in quick succession that home in on the enemy, ensuring contact. Flare Arrow is learned when Foxparks reaches level 22, and is followed by the fire type move Ignis Breath, gained at level 30. Ignis Breath deals continuous damage by shooting flames at the enemy, which have a power of 70, and this move has a 15-second cooldown. When Foxparks reaches level 40, it gains its only dark type active skill, called Spirit Flame, which conjures up 3 balls of malice to be fired at the enemy, which relentlessly pursues them. Spirit Flame has a 16-second cooldown and a power of 75. And last but not least, the fire type move Fireball is gained at level 50. Fireball sees Foxparks conjure a giant ball of flames to be hurled at the enemy and explodes upon impact. This move has a power of 150, making it Foxparks' most powerful move, and it has a cooldown of 55 seconds. Now, if you want to create a strong Foxparks combat build, then you could consider the passive skill Pyromaniac, which boosts fire damage by 10%. Rainbow tier passives like Flame Emperor, which increases fire attack by 20%, and Eternal Flame, which bolsters fire attack by 30%, would be fantastic. However, these passives would need to be bred down from Blazemuts and Blazemut Ryus through a chain of PAL inheritance. Selective breeding like this is not an easy or quick process, but is certainly doable. An easier method would be to focus more on pairing Pyromaniac with attack and defense boosting passives like Musclehead, Burly Body, Brave, Diamond Body, Ferocious, and the Lucky passive. You could also consider Waterproof passive to decrease incoming water damage by 10%. Most of Foxparks' active skills have a short cooldown time, so passives that reduce active skill cooldown times might be wasted on Foxparks, but each to their own. In terms of cooking, Foxparks plays more of a chef role, rather than being an ingredient in any dishes, owing to its kindling work suitability. So there's not much to say in that department. What there is a lot to say about is Foxparks' role in breeding. There are a lot of combinations that can result in a child Foxparks, but unless you want to pass down a specific passive or high IVs, Foxparks are available early game anyway, and are a common sight straight away. Foxparks' worth in terms of breeding is as an early game parent. Breeding with Foxparks with an Ichthyodeer can get you a Wixen, which is a very useful pal. Wixen has level 2 work suitabilities in Kindling and Transport, and a level 3 work suitability in Handiwork. Its partner skill Lord Fox imbues the player's attacks with fire damage, and Wixens also have a chance to drop high-grade technical manuals upon defeat. So, if you felt so inclined, you could use the breed and butcher method to rack up a few extra tech points. If you breed Foxparks with a Nightwing, you will get a child Mozzarina, who will produce milk when assigned to a ranch at your base, which is an essential ingredient for making cake needed to initiate the breeding process. And trust me, if you are serious about Palworld, then you are going to need a lot of cake. But this isn't the only child of Foxparks that can produce things at your ranch. Foxparks and Sparkit parents will create a flame organ producing Flambelle, and Foxparks and Rushaura's parents will result in a child Kelpsy, who can produce PAL fluids at your ranch, all very useful. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about Foxparks. The only other thing I want to mention is the implication in one of Pocket Pair's YouTube PAL animes that something bad will happen if the fire goes out. There is a short video about rain falling on Foxparks and Cyblex kindly covering a group of Foxparks to protect them. Will they die if their flames go out? That makes me sad. I hope not. Maybe it will just transform into a Foxparks Christ or something, which is a perfect segue to my next Palpedia deep dive, which will be all about Foxparks' ice variant, Foxparks Christ. Can't wait. Be sure to subscribe to the channel since this is an ongoing series and you don't want to miss out on the Palpedia deep dive for your favourite pals. I've been Heather at Paltopia and thank you very much for watching.